Hey everybody, I'm Nate Odom with Ssussdriad, and I wanted to give you a quick update on last night's City Council meeting, January 15th, 2019. I actually recorded this morning, but sometime between last night and today, my audio settings on my camera got shut off, so there was no sound when I got home to edit. But that's all right. It gives me a chance to pretend like I came out here really late at night, but we all know it's just winter and it gets dark early. The community was out in force last night, many of whom were in full support of listing the Bastille as surplus property, which is really interesting because in March of 2017, some of you may remember, March 7th, the Bastille was on the city council agenda back then too, and the community, for the same thing, to list it as surplus, and the community showed up again in force back then to oppose the surplus listing. The major difference now the major difference this year being that Barrelhouse Brewing, and you may know them from Paso Robles, their brewery, and their latest tap house in Visalia, Barrelhouse Brewing has expressed interest. Now, Barrelhouse is really interesting because the founders were born and raised in Lemoore, and they are the Carvalho family, which you may know from Carvalho Construction. Most recently, they built the latest fire station. So I think people are really excited and hopeful that not only will Barrelhouse have the capital and the construction experience to restore that historic landmark to its former glory, but will have the will and the passion to do so, being that they were born and raised in the area. So we'll see how that goes. And I was fortunate enough to share a phone conversation with one of the Carvalhos this morning, and I'll play a little bit of that audio so you can kind of get a feel for who we're talking about.
But we had shown interest in the property just because our construction office is right across the street, and we kind of get a chance to oversee downtown or the city center there, and kind of bummed to see what's happening with it. So we started kicking around ideas and entertained the idea of putting a tap room there into the Bastille. We talked to the city about it, but there's still a lot of unknowns with that. So we're aware of the extent of the construction that's necessary to bring it, back to occupancy or back to being open to the public, and it's quite extensive. We do primarily commercial construction, and so the work that the Bastille needs is exactly what our crews are suited to do. So.
Notably, being from the area, I think people are expecting you to really respect the history and kind of do it justice.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's part of what makes that area so special. And so we try to preserve as much of the history as possible.
Now, that surplus listing will give local organizations and schools 60 days to express interest. If nobody does, then the city can move forward with other offers, such as some sort of deal with Barrelhouse. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll be sure to keep you updated. Maybe in videos like this, but perhaps on a weekly live stream that I'll be telling you about in a minute. Now, to the Homeless Resource Center being located downtown, the community, if you've been paying attention to the conversation on Facebook regarding that Homeless Resource Center, you know that many in the community have been opposed to it, not because they do not want a Homeless Resource Center in town, but because they don't want it downtown. And many feel that will exacerbate the homeless issues that we already have. So the city council has chosen to list the Bastille as surplus, but in regards to the Homeless Resource Center, they have chosen to take that off the table for now. And the reason for taking it off the table and not just putting it somewhere else is because they have a certain amount of time within which they have a deadline by which they have to spend that federal money. And a census area in which they are required to spend it. So what they've chosen to do is potentially purchase, and I'll clear the potentially up in a moment. They've chosen to potentially purchase the old armory building on 11th Avenue, which is currently leased by the police program PALS, which is a youth boxing program that rehabilitates local youth. I do hope to explore that program further. At last night's meeting, we did also get some new commissioners. On the Planning Commission, we got Jason Van Campe, who you may remember from a city council campaign this recent election season, and reappointed to the Planning Commission is Travis Payden. Shane Strawn, also you may remember him from a city council run, Parks and Recreation Commission, and Dennis Ham has moved to the Parking and Traffic Commission. So congratulations, new commissioners. Now, I've got some exciting news on my end. I will soon be premiering a weekly live stream called How's Hamford? It's a question mark at the end, right? It's a good name. It's going to be a weekly live stream in full 1080p HD with high quality audio. I will be broadcasting out of DJ's Collectibles every Tuesday morning, and I'll be covering local news, events, politics, and exploring local history, business, arts, and culture. So I'll be interviewing local history buffs, and I'm really excited. We might be having there's this 11-year-old historian in town. What? I guess he knows a lot about the Bastille, and he's working on a Lacey milling project. I'm excited. That's going to be cool. So that will be premiering soon on Facebook and YouTube. There'll be more information about that soon. Thanks for watching. Yeah, stay groovy. At this median here outside of Chicken Shack on Lacey, I think most of us are familiar with it, is about to get a major makeover, and it's kind of cool. There's going to be some big old letters saying Hamford. There's going to be some life-size cow models and some antique rusty tractors. I think it's going to look awesome.